What's a good psychological trick that you use with success most of the times? When I'm super stressed about an upcoming event, usually a medical appointment or some social event, I pretend it's a week or a month after the event and that the event wasn't that bad at all. It helps me to get over the anxiety leading up to the days, hours, and minutes leading up to the event. In my mind I know the event isn't that big of a deal, but anxiety always messes things up, so thinking beyond the event is the game changer for me. I have a similar technique, but instead I focus on the time when it's over. If I have something scary in 3 hours I think, man, in 5 hours I'll be back home with the cats and have a pizza. If my kids are giving me a hard time about eating something I tell them it's okay, they're probably not big enough yet. Then they eat it to prove me wrong. My son's too big of an butthole. I used to use it on him. Then around age 3 he just started saying yeah probably. Tell someone if I can make your hand flip over without touching it, will you buy me? Insert whatever. Then ask them to put their hand out and when they do, say no the other way. My friend did this to Emmy the other day. I lost $10 dozens. In an argument find something to agree on then push your main point. I have had great success using this method and it always works. I am an occupational therapist with early intervention, which means I do home therapy with the 0-3 age group. Sometimes they are preemies or micro preemies, sometimes they have autism, sometimes language delays, sometimes genetic disorders. Whatever the diagnosis is, it often leaves moms feeling isolated, overwhelmed and incompetent. Whenever I am doing therapy, I will subtly orient the child so that the mom is on the direction that's easiest for the child to turn. And then I sing a song or play a game that I know will make the child really happy, and right when they laugh or smile, I will say, look, she's looking for you. Look at how much she loves you. I can really see how much she loves you, mom. It always reinforces the parent-child bond, which almost always leads to a positive feedback loop of smiles and love from mom to child, which hopefully makes mom feel a little more secure and at ease. Father of a micro preemie, 24 WKS now 9 months. Without you wonderful people so many families wouldn't know how to connect with their children after learning about disabilities. Our kids are just as committed and loving as any others, but they need your help to bridge the gaps with their parents. Thank you for all your hard work. You really do make a difference in our lives. Reflective listening. Simply being there with someone and reflecting their words and sentiments back to them. When someone shares a problem or grief or complaint with us, we often have the instinct to say I'm sorry, as in I'm sorry for the loss of your mother. What is the natural reaction when someone says sorry? Usually to say that's okay, but it is not okay. Don't put someone in the position of comforting you for their loss. Instead, show that you see and feel their grief. That's so awful. I can't imagine how upset you must be. This invites the other person to tell you more. Impose optimism. Things will get better. Yeah, maybe, but right now the person is upset and needs you to hear and validate that feeling. You can show you understand by saying that sounds really tough. Even dude that really sucks shows empathy without trying to push them to stifle their feelings or suck it up when they're just trying to be heard. Relate to the other person. Friend, I got a freaking parking ticket. Man, you. Ugh, that's the worst. I got a parking ticket yesterday too. Man, this may be appropriate later in the conversation, but it shouldn't be your first reaction to make it about you. Stay with them. Oh no. What happened invites them to tell you more. If a complaint, be defensive or apologize immediately. Acknowledgement is important. I really fricked up. That was an error on my part. Or if you feel you didn't do anything wrong, at least I can see why you're upset with the situation. In each of these situations, you can use reflective listening to show that you hear the other person and you're with them in their feelings. You're validating their anger, grief, and allowing them the safety of being in it with you before moving on. I use this with kids all the time. Instead of "you're okay," pet peeve. We can help kids label and understand their feelings by saying "I see you're really upset right now." This gives them the vocabulary to express themselves rather than resorting to undesirable behaviors like hitting. I work with kids, so I really use social referencing to my advantage. If a kid falls, they look around to adults to see how the adult reacts. If the adult rushed over and starts coddling, the child will usually overreact because they think it's needed. If the adult doesn't seem concerned, the child is quicker to move on. Also, when I was younger, my mom would use a trick on me. She told me that she knew when I was lying because my tongue would turn green. She'd ask me a question, listen to the answer, then ask me to stick out my tongue. If I tried to hide it, she knew I was lying. My parents used to say that our eyes turned green when we were lying. They looked us in the eye to check. It worked for the most part, but I remember my sister failing this check when she was actually in the right. She went ballistic. Rightly so, and mum and dad agreed that the green was a reflection of something or other. Whenever I get upset and realize that I'm spiraling, I start listing things out loud that I'm grateful for. It's very hard to be anxious, depressed, scared when you're thinking about what's gone right for you. Once you get the hang of it, it's easy to make it into a long process to give yourself more positivity time. I'm grateful to have a functioning car. Well, what else about my car am I grateful for? All the awesome CDs I have, my car stereo, songs I like on the radio. Hey, you know, gas prices have been lower lately. Well, how do I afford my car? A job I like, a wage I can survive on, co-workers I love, a boss that treats me well. Or maybe I'm grateful for friends and the places we hang out, or the scenery in my area of the state. I can list gratitudes for an hour or more if I need to. It really does the trick, and it gets easier the more I do it. The 5 gifts of Hathor is what the old Egyptians called it. Basically, what they would do is look at their left hand and count 5 things they were grateful for. As your hand was something that's always with you, it served as a constant reminder that there are good things in your life. When you need something from someone, explicitly say I need your help before making your request. Most people like to be needed and feel fulfilled when they've helped someone. When I'm nervous, I convince myself it's excitement, the heart racing, the racing thoughts, the alertness. I tell myself it's all energy, pumping myself up to confront a challenge. It's almost the exact same physiological response. A lifetime of chronic anxiety left me struggling to experience excitement as a positive emotion. But once I recognized the problem, I was able to start practicing to change the way I respond emotionally to the physiological event. It's not all the time, but it is getting better. Mindfulness works wonders. The lesser of 2 evils. Working as a manager, part of my job is to keep people busy. Some people do not respond well with being told what to do. Offering 2 tasks, the one I want the employee to be doing against an equally feasible yet less desirable task, often will send the employee into a productive and happily grateful mode of doing said task. Then I take on the less than desirable one I was planning on doing anyways with good spirit, leaving a positive example on both myself and said task. No experience here, but I can't imagine why this wouldn't work well on children. If I'm not mistaken, this is a common good parenting technique. Also, speaking from no personal experience, but plenty of anecdotal evidence. Other people's posts on Reddit, for example. My therapist gave me the great advice that the word should is terrible for motivation procrastination. I'm saying it far less eloquently, but basically instead of saying you should do the dishes, you should say I will do the dishes, which tricks your brain into doing it. Because should is far less matter of fact. Meanwhile, I will is very set in stone. It took me a while to do it, but now I barely ever say I should do X, Y, Z, and actually my motivation has gone up. Cunningham's law. Say something slightly wrong, and you'll almost always find someone desperate to correct you and do the work for you. Works great on Reddit when you get the source squawks. Finding someone desperate on Reddit is like finding a quarter in a bucket full of quarters. LOL. Steelmaning. It's the opposite of strawmanning. When arguing, if you know you're right, then paraphrase the strongest, most ideal and robust possible version of your opponent's argument, and then argue against that. This builds trust and shows that you really do understand, see their perspective, and aren't trying to downplay their ideas. It's disarming, and people tend to agree more when they feel like their opinions have been understood. I have to ask people to do small favors for you. They'll tend to like you more this way. Benjamin Franklin effect. When arguing, verbally repeat your opponent's position and ask, is this what you mean, or something similar. Firstly, this makes you understand their point better, but if it's bulls, it also makes them realize it faster. Mirroring people, not just in their body movements. but also in their time language. I only do this if I'm trying to connect with someone, and it seems to work really well. Sometimes on the tube when standing without holding anything on a stable part of the track, I will pretend to randomly wobble and almost grab onto something. Pretty quickly I will see other people grab onto something regardless if they are standing or sitting. I get bored when commuting. Starting phone calls with "Did I catch you at a bad time?" Learned this trick from Never Split the Difference. The author is a former FBI hostage negotiator. Most people start conversations with "Hey, do you have a minute to talk?" which makes people defensive. For what reason, why, with you, talk about what, etc. Getting people to say no is a key factor that allows them to open up by saying no. Of course not. I'm not doing much anyways. Definitely helps when calling, especially when negotiating or work is involved. My dad used to ask a question like that, or "Are you busy?" etc. Until I told him if I was busy, I wouldn't have answered the phone. Now when he calls, we just start talking. If you want people to like you in a friendship way, this won't trick people into love. Ask them to do you a quick and easy favor. Most people will say yes to something simple and help you out. Then their brain justifies why they helped you out with "I guess I like him." It works surprisingly well. If you work for a micromanager, don't ask them for their opinion or tell them too much. Do the task and do it well and let them know you've taken care of it. Started working for a micromanager recently, and I was just explaining this to another team member yesterday. Informing the micromanager of a task or issue as you're beginning to tackle it will not end well. It's much better to just do it to your best of your ability and report when it's done. If you feel a panic attack coming on, embrace it. Tell yourself it's happening and welcome it. More often than not, the panic attack will subside. The way they work is through fear of having a panic attack. For example, "I'm going to embarrass myself. People will look at me," etc. If you take away that fear and allow it to come, it will go away. I was always getting stopped at work late afternoon on Fridays to assist with some task or multiple tasks that would cause me to leave late and ruin my perfectly good Friday mood. I was doing two things wrong. 1. I'm pretty organized and a good worker, and I deliberately was leaving Fridays pretty light work-wise. 2. This would cause me to be in a good mood, smiling, being happy, saunter down the hall, etc. I realized that co-workers and bosses don't like that for whatever reason. So I would put all my work stuff, lunch etc. in my car at around noon on Friday. Then late afternoon I would look stressed at my desk. If I walked around the office, I would walk quickly with a thick clipboard looking angry or stressed. If I see anyone in the hall, I say something like, "This day will never end," and I will do that up until I walk angrily right out the side door and leave on time. And you know what? Nobody ever asks me for crap on late afternoon on Fridays any longer. Everyone sees that I'm miserable, and that satisfies their desire to frick my mood up. Office culture in a nutshell. There's a whole episode of Seinfeld about that. Ask someone what color is your shirt before rock paper scissors, and they'll do scissors. We like to think we act because of how we feel, but in reality this is often reversed. We often feel things because of how we act. The truth is, we kind of suck at interpreting why we do things and can confuse cause and effect pretty easily. Did you help someone because you like them? Or do you like them because you helped them out? Is your heart racing on a date because you're really into the person? Or because the date itself is something exciting? If you know this, you can deal with other people better, not just getting them to like you by being in the right situations, but also simply being aware that you shouldn't take negative things personally. If someone is having a really crappy day, don't get too upset with them if they lash out. Also, the book How to Win Friends and Influence People has some pretty good advice that will either seem painfully obvious to you or completely groundbreaking, depending on how you currently interact with people. Thank you so much UPM Nudes for degrading. This really helped me understand some behaviors of the people around me, as well as the behaviors of my own mind. Truly insightful. If someone makes me uncomfortable and I want to make them stop, I always stare at their forehead during conversations. It makes them feel like they're doing something wrong, and most of the time changes the behavior that made me uncomfortable in the first place. I heard somewhere that if you don't know where to look during a conversation, then you should make a triangle by switching your focus between their eyes and mouth. It looks natural from their point of view. If you want to end a conversation, then replace the mouth part of the triangle with their forehead. This is unnatural and they will feel uncomfortable, as you said. Nodding my head yes or no while I'm asking a question to encourage the answer I want. It's something I've done forever and honestly don't realize when I'm doing it. My husband pointed it out to me, and also pointed out that rarely do people seem to notice because I do it subtly and naturally and that it often seems to work. Kill them with kindness. In the workplace it's worked great for me. Don't like me? I'm gonna go out of my way to be extra nice, sensitive and have empathy. Has almost always turned a crappy situation into a friendship, or at least a mutual respect. Yeah, be nice is a good trick to use. If you're trying to get more than a short answer from someone, for example, if you're interviewing someone for a job or something, this simple psychological trick works almost every time. When they finish speaking, extend the pause and don't say anything. Just keep looking at them neutrally and tilt your head slightly. Most times, people feel the need to fill the silence and will say more, give more detail, etc. I use this all the time when I'm trying to get my grumpy daughter to open up about her feelings. I think this is why my girlfriend never let me think long enough to say something. She would give her piece. I would think about what she said, and while I'm coming up with a response, she'd rattle on and I'm playing catch up. I hated it because she'd never give me time to object to something. When I realized what was going on, I started saying I'm thinking, which works. If I'm ever struggling with making a choice, I flip a coin. Not for the coin to decide for me, but the action of flipping the coin itself automatically inserts a thought. I hope it lands on X side. Whatever that thought is, that's the choice you go with. I've been doing this since I was little. Best trick ever. Convincing someone your idea was their idea. It works 90% of time. Even simply adding to their great idea works. I've turned people completely over to agreeing with me when it has little to do with what they originally thought. I'm not some psychic master, and yes, this is manipulative when you use it maliciously. Teach me. If you're walking along the pavement sidewalk and there's someone coming straight towards you, you might try and meet their eye in an attempt to exert dominance and make them change off their line. Don't. The correct procedure is not to make eye contact with them at all. Look down at your feet as you walk, and 9 times out of 10 they will move out of your way. In order to exert dominance, walk with your eyes down, then when you're within 10 feet look up directly into their eyes. They will try to look away and move out of your path. I used to use this when I was an insecure youth walking past groups of other lads. I do this on other people when they are stuck on a problem. I get them to walk me through the issue. Because you have to verbalize it, you process the information differently. Usually people get halfway though and you see the light bulb ping on. My colleague used to call this rubber ducking. He said some people keep a rubber ducky on their desk and would tell the duck the problem so they'd hear it out loud and realize the answer. With my kids it is the hard stare. Yes, the one that Paddington demonstrates in Paddington 2. Usually it is preceded by, "So, is there something I should know about?" 3 minutes and they are confessing to everything from stealing a cookie to the disappearance of Jimmy Hoffa. Ask an easy question your boss manager would be more willing to answer than asking them to weigh in on an entire project at once. They haven't digested the information and given the time needed they might forget. Don't. So what would you like me to do? Given the last 15 minutes of explanation? Do. Would it make sense if I do X now? Given the results, you're much more likely to get an answer instead of waiting and can move forward. Stop yourself from passing judgment. As soon as you hear yourself making a statement about another person, take a second. You never know what is going on in someone's life. Giving a reason when you ask someone to do something. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, just that you have one. People are more likely to do what was asked if you give a reason versus not giving a reason. When meeting someone new, repeat their name when they introduce themselves. Saying their name out loud will help you remember it better. I learned a neat trick while studying Buddhism briefly. If you want to solve a puzzle or problem, don't try to think of solutions. Instead, imagine that you already knew the solution, but have just forgotten it. Sometimes it works. If someone has to wait for you, instead of saying "I'm sorry," say "Thanks for your patience." Saying you're sorry admits that you're doing something wrong. thanking someone for their patience is a compliment. It says that not only that they have patience, but that they're generous enough to give some to you. If possible, collect the urine of people you interact with on a professional basis. The insight you can gain into their personality is invaluable when you send it away for analysis. For example, anxious people tend to shed magnesium in their effluents at a surprising rate, and that's just for starters. Imagine if you knew who at work was a secret opium addict. It could mean the only thing standing between you and a promotion was 6 pennyweight of Chinese molasses. Excuse me, what the frick? Silence is such a powerful tool. If someone is saying something particularly stupid, I find that responding with silence causes them to backtrack or continue talking in circles until they shut up on their own. Pro tip that can get you promotions at work and literally anything else you need from someone. Okay, so this is a general rule that has been proven by actual professionals studying business psychology, but it works with everything. So, if you're asking for something from someone else, do not approach them first. What I mean by this is, if ever you're able to, don't walk, say, into their office. Wait for them to come to your station, or cubicle, or wherever you work, and then pop the question. If you want your mom to buy you something, wait for them to come to your room, or to walk into a room you are already in. This subconsciously gives you a position of dominance in their mind, even if they are your clear superior and you do what they tell you. You being there before them will make them more likely to do what you want. This is always the case, no matter the issue. So do this, always, anytime that you can. Also, have them sit with the sun in their eyes. Being honest with people and not resorting to cheap tricks. People are stunned by it and then they are more open with you. 100% true. I'm always amazed at the things one of my co-workers can get away with saying, but he's so genuinely honest and transparent that people see him as harmless and trustworthy, even when saying some things I'd be scared to say around superiors. My favorite people, even when I disagree with them vehemently, are the honest, transparent people. 1. Wait. When someone doesn't respond to you right away after you ask a question, just give them time and don't jump in to save the awkward moment right away. Most people need to gather their thoughts and you learn a lot more that way. 2. Give compliments indirectly to a person by telling someone they know well the compliment instead, like, oh, I think your fiance, Sarah, is such a cool person. She has great style. The person will be more likely to believe you if you compliment them behind their back and they catch word of it through a mutual friend. It will brighten their day. I really like this. Too bad I don't know any of your friends. I'll also add one more. I'm a master of the grey rock technique. Have you ever had that friend, family member who loves attention and always seems to be embroiled in drama with people you don't know and won't shut up about it? Or they beat around the bush about an issue because they are dying for you to ask about it? I have a family member like this and I can't stand that crap. When that happens, I grey rock. The goal is to be as boring as possible. I listen, but I do not engage. I offer generic sympathy. I will not be baited and I don't ask questions. Eventually she gets bored and moves on to someone else who will get worked up with her over nothing. The amount of secondhand drama in my life has decreased dramatically. Referencing something someone said earlier in a meeting to bring them back into the conversation and win them over. Using names. Giving credit to their ideas and just building consensus is so easy when people feel heard. I used to take part in amateur eating contests, and when I was nearly out of steam and neck with one other guy, I'd turn to him, smile and completely stuff my mouth with food as if I could keep going all day. More than once, they just gave up. Look confident and assured no matter what, and your competitors will assume that you're going to beat them. Then they'll beat themselves. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.